things. Exited host mode. I don't know what does exiting host mode mean. I don't know what that means. Hey. All right. Hi, Grid Machine friends and fans of fun. Hopefully people are going to filter in here this week. I've got a lot of books this week, and we had a lot of weirdness this week. COVID has perpetually made all of our shipments late. I have no idea why, but everything is late, and FedEx is purposefully not delivering to us. I can't explain this one. Can you explain this one, Yogi?
Not a clue.
We don't have a clue. So we have to like go down and pick up FedEx. Somebody there just doesn't want to do their job, is what it's feeling like.
The word I got was they were literally taking all commercial packages that are going on the mall and throwing them in a trailer.
Throwing them in a trailer. That's a good thing to do with packages. So thanks, FedEx. Thanks, guys.
You're the best.
You're great. If I had a choice between FedEx and Diamond Comics, our comeback will be bigger than our setback. We have a lot of damaged books this week. Fortunately, I think most of our books for our subs are not damaged. However, some stuff on the shelf is going to need the press. Sad face. So we're going to have to deal with that. We do have a lot of books to go over this week, but we don't have DC yet. So expect another video tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow?
Yeah.
For DC?
Woo-hoo.
Maybe tomorrow?
I'm going to drive down to the warehouse and kick in the door.
Yeah. So maybe tomorrow? Let me see if I can't get this. I don't know. I'm dropping stuff. Things are falling. Maybe I can do that like this. This is not working, is it? Give me more Pokemon cards to maybe
Catch them all?
To catch them all, yes. To get that set proper. I think that works. Sort of. Maybe. It kind of works. I can't really see my face on Twitch, but that's fine. Okay. We're going to get through everything this week for Marvel and Indy. And there's a lot of good stuff this week, including the Vampire the Mask, of course. Of course. Right when we're doing a video, we get calls. Including the Vampire the Masquerade comic, which I am super hyped to review and get to for a lot of good reasons. I'll gush about it later. Right now, we'll talk about it in a bit. So let's open this week with Transformers My Little Pony, the crossover no one expected. Clearly the crossover of the century. Well, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, if you know the new My Little Pony brand, you'll know that although it is marketed at kids, it is also sort of written to be kind of for adults at the same time. So while the Transformers crossover is a bit weird, somehow it works. It's divided up into two stories. The art is, well, it's very My Little Pony and Transformers. I can't really complain about the art. It feels like both cartoons perfectly. The story is, well, it's divided into two stories, and both of them are kind of fun. It's how they arrive there and then what they choose to do there. And one of them is Starscream decides to become King of the Ponies. That's funny. So I honestly had a pretty good time with it, but I will say that if you are a fan of the current Transformers comics and you like that level of grit, you're not going to find it in this. It's a bit lighthearted, but it's still a pretty good read. Next is Marvel Tales Future Imperfect Maestro, and well, this is it's essentially a facsimile edition of the old Maestro comic, retold. And you know, it's good. What's a good synonym for Maestro? Space Hulk?
I'd say dystopian because he's another future Hulk.
Oh yeah, he's another future Hulk. Dystopian future Space Hulk. I don't know. It's a good read. I have little to complain about. I haven't read this in a long time though, so I was a little shocked by how much of it I didn't remember. But didn't hate it. If you need a little Maestro, this is prep for the actual Maestro comic that's coming out, is what they're doing. So they're sort of setting the stage for stuff. Is that Maestro stuff supposed to be involved in Immortal Hulk?
Yes. I mean,
do you know?
I would weird considering that he actually got killed by a gamma bomb at the site before we went back in time and managed to come back.
Okay.
So he should still have
He's-
some kind of influence.
Should still be in there. I mean, so that was the right at the end of book 6, I think it was, or 7.
And then
Whenever they all got killed and wound up in the green door.
right, and
Yeah.
then other than that, the latest time you saw him was when he was going against Old Man Logan.
Yeah. Yeah. So Maestro's been around, but we haven't seen him too often, at least not with the Immortal Hulk stuff. I've only seen him, I think, once. Nate's saying once. Once? Once. Maestro's kind of a weird character to dust off, though. It's still weird. Next is Star Wars. This is Sol Saez, Prianto, and Brown. This is the tales that occur between Empire and Jedi. Now, we need to remember that how long is it? It's like 10 years. There's like 10 years between Empire and Jedi, right? That's what always tripped me out about the story, was because Lando is like camping out and he's undercover for like 10 years and they never tap him.
That's amazing.
That's insane. So, well, anyway, so there's a lot of time that passes. Maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's not, but there's a lot of time that passes, and they've covered a lot of stuff. This opens with a guy with, he's got what looks like jock sunglasses on, and he's claiming to be Luke Skywalker and his trusty droid RD. So obviously he's not Luke Skywalker and gets called out for it. And then it actually picks up with the actual Luke Skywalker, who is chasing a Jedi, or a rumor to be a Jedi, who is a female, who has survived the Order 66. So he's trying to glean a bit of information from them. And, it doesn't quite go as he wants it to. But yeah, Star Wars issue number 5. If you aren't on board with this current Star Wars run and you're a Star Wars fan, you need to turn in your fan card, because man, this stuff's good. So come pick it up. We've only got a few extra too, so yeah, you really need to get on board with that stuff. Next is Alien, and this is the 20th Century Fox Uncovered. You said this is the OG screenplay?
Yes. So
For
what
Alien?
we're looking at there in the picture is the jockey, the original jockey.
The original jockey? Okay.
And then it was light, and it was good.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I don't know what that character is. I know nothing of this. Somehow Yogi knows all this weird lore. It's interesting. It does start out like regular Alien. I'm waiting to see the facehugger grab somebody. That's about it. That's the moment I'm waiting for. But is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good. It feels reminiscent to the OG Alien while sort of going a different direction. You'll see. If you're an Alien fan, you would love this, and you would totally be on board, and you should grab it right now, because it's probably a collector's item. Because Dark Horse, this is the last Alien Dark Horse we're going to see, because Marvel bought the license. So we're going to see aliens in the Marvel universe, most likely. So yeah, come pick this up. It's going to be worth something. Next is Usagi Yojimbo, The Return, Part 1 of 4. I called it in the last issue. I said that he is in the area of his hometown. He's going to wind up seeing Mariko again, his ex, and his old best friend, who doesn't know that the son he is raising is actually Usagi's son. That's wow. That's some stuff. Meanwhile, he comes to find out that his son has gone to train with the old hermit in the mountains, who is the hermit who trained Usagi. So I am so excited to see how this turns out. And I'm hoping we get to see Jatiro's training, because Usagi's training was amazing. And that goes back to the original Usagi comic, like issue 1, I think, is where he goes to train. So it goes all the way back to the very beginning of the run. So super excited to see. Come pick this up. It's great. Next is the Empire Handbook for all things Empire. If you need to know who the Katati are because you can't pronounce their name and you keep calling them the Katari like me, this is what you get. It is mostly facts about what is going on and details and everything else and what roles these people play. So if you're a little confused, I wouldn't blame you. There's a lot of moving parts in this story, and we've got you covered with this. This one in particular, though, is going to have to go to the press because Diamond's comeback is better than their setback. That joke is going to... I'm just going to run that into the ground. I'm going to run that into the ground so much people are going to go, is that a box of comics from Diamond? Because someone's ran it into the ground like 50 times. Okay.
It's true.
Next is Al Ewing, Dan Slott, man, Valerio Sheedy, and Marta Gracia. And, of course, Marta Gracia. This is, well, Empire issue number 4. Yeah, I was like, wow, Al Ewing and Dan Slott. I didn't realize they were both working on this. So this is Empire. This picks up. Hulkling is... well, he's a jerk. Something's wrong with Hulkling. He's not quite right. So the Avengers or whoever's left standing needs to figure out what's going on by finding his husband, Wiccan. So that's where this picks up. And meanwhile, there's just a lot of moving parts in play because, I mean, we have the Gotati, but we also have the people on the moon who are sort of tied to the Gotati, but also kind of not. And the person leading them is not leading them, I guess, Prince Qua. He's the prince to the king, who is Mantis's son. And so we're going to see a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts in play. And if you're not quite versed on all of this, I wouldn't blame you for being confused. So that's why we've got the Empire Handbook for you. But yeah, this is great. Honestly, I didn't know I'd like this event as much as I did, and I'm having a great old time. So yeah, it'll be here. Come pick it up. Next is Celestial Messiah. It's a one-shot in the Lords of Empire series, and this actually centers around Qua, who is Mantis's son, and sort of his rite of passage and his rise to power. So yeah, we get to see all that weird stuff going on the dark side of the moon, because that's where it takes place. They've got a base up on the dark side of the moon. So yeah, nothing to complain about here. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good story. There's a lot of twists and turns, and it's mostly him trying to go through a rite of passage while Mantis keeps trying to interrupt it, and that's what he's dealing with. So yeah, it's pretty good. I honestly don't think it's a must buy for the Empire fans. I'd say you can maybe pick it up. It's not the best read. It's like just a side story, and it's okay. Next is clearly the best comic of the week, because for whatever reason, Diamond Comics sent us 17 copies of it. And we don't think we ordered 17 copies of it, but we certainly paid for 17 copies of it. So the best comic of the week, not really, is Bird Person by Rick and Morty. We just have a lot of copies. So if you really, really like Rick and Morty, or you really, really like Bird Person, which I don't think anyone's ever said, we've got you covered. This is essentially Bird Person's, they found Bird Person's diary, and they're sort of reading it. And it turns out, well, it's very Conan-esque, I would say, but really it's Bird Person's sort of rise to power and how him and Rick became friends. And it's okay. It's okay. We have a lot of copies, though, and believe me, we'd love to sell them, so come pick them up. It's okay. As far as the Rick and Morty comics are concerned, I will tell you that I don't think the mainline comics are particularly good. These side stories are the better ones of all of them. The best being the Dungeons and Dragons Rick and Morty, for sure, without a doubt, is the best. These other side stories, they're okay. The mainline Rick and Morty, I don't know what's going on with it. It just kind of sucks. It never quite feels like the cartoon, so it is what it is. Next is, sad face. Mark Waid, Kev Walker, and Java Tartaglia. And I'm sad to say that Doctor Strange, Surgeon Supreme, has been canceled by Marvel and is considered to be the next victim of COVID. So we're all sad to see it go, because Mark Waid is amazing. And, honestly, like this run, well, all the Mark Waid Doctor Strange stuff has been great, but this run in particular has been something I've never seen before. So the last couple issues, we found out that his forge had been compromised, and he needs to sort of get to the bottom of it, and he does. He figures out who it is, and he handles it in a very Doctor Strange sort of way, while still, keeping his doctor's honor. What would you call it? His
Hippocratic Oath.
Hippocratic oath. He still keeps his Hippocratic oath. It's good. Surgeon Supreme, it's pretty good. It's a wrap up for Who Messed with His Forge, and I have little to complain about. I'm just really sad to see this run come to an end. And I certainly hope that whatever they do with Doctor Strange in the future, they will tap Mark Waid for it, because that man seems to be made for writing this book. It's just great. I have nothing to complain about these runs. And get Jesus Saez back in on it, because, man, that guy's art is amazing. Next is Snyder, Soul, Kamunkoli, Grassi, Wilson, and Crank. And this, of course, is Undiscovered Country. Now, I will say this is Snyder doing what Snyder does. And granted, it's on Image, but it's the United States having suffered an apocalypse and sort of trying to get to the bottom of it, while some of the territories are still sort of fighting with each other and lobbying for control and trying to find peace here and there and trying to survive. Meanwhile, there is a character in here who is very much seems like he crawled right out of DC Comics and Freedom Fighters. So it seems like old Uncle Sam is in the midst of this. It's good. It's good. I have nothing to complain about. Snyder doing what Snyder does, which is amazing stuff. The art's good. Anyone who's been on board for this Undiscovered Country run has really had a good time with it. And I don't see you complaining about this issue either. There's really... he hasn't written a bad issue so far. I do like the barcode that's in the shape of a flag. That's almost like a tattoo. Look at that. Commercialism in the United States. It's a really good comic. Nothing to complain about. I didn't read the last couple issues, so I was a little confused as to where they go. But it's an apocalypse story, and it's supposed to be the recovery of the United States. So I'm anxious to see where it goes. Next is, it's an X-Men that if you didn't know this character, I wouldn't blame you personally. He's very lesser known, and this is, of course, Phantom X, the giant size. Now, Phantom X is, he's one of a twin, and I think he's the failure of the two twins. Like, they were identical twins, but they considered one to be a success and one to be a failure, and they cast them out. And I have to wonder if that's not a reference to how, like, Japan makes swords, where they make a perfect sword and then they make a perfect sword that matches it, and then they bury one and the other one goes on to be like something else. So Japan has hidden all these national treasures around their country, and that's not actually the mythos. I think the mythos is if you create something of good, you have to create a counter of evil or something. Old Phantom X is the counter, I'd say. His other half is running a it's sort of cyberspace with crazy floating eyes and all types of other weird stuff, and it's called The World. So I'm guessing that his counterpart is running Second Life. That's what it feels like. And meanwhile, Phantom X throughout the ages has just sort of reappeared to see if he wants to pull his counter out of the simulation. He always gives him a choice. And so far, the guy has not taken him up on that choice. And meanwhile, the X-Men need to I guess, parlay into the world to find a cure for Storm. Yeah, so they're sort of trying to get into there. So the only way they can get in there is old Phantom X. Now, I like this character, but this character is not too well known. I'd like to see it go a little bit further than this, and I can't wait to see what happens because old Hickman is at the helm, so it's Hickman and Rice. So it should be pretty darn good. So let's wait and see. Next is issue 12 of Black Cat. This is McKay, Villa, and Reber, and this was amazing. Amazing. I mean, I have nothing to complain about this Black Cat run. It hasn't lulled at all. It's been fun the whole way through. But this issue in particular, the last issue, we found her going into Tony Stark's Iron Man forge and creating her own suit of armor, the Iron Cat. That's inventive. Call it the Iron Cat. But so she's been fighting with Iron Man this whole time, and meanwhile he's trying to figure out what the game is and what's going on, and she's trying to take on the leader of her old thieves guild. So yeah, that's all the excitement that's going on. It's been fun. There's nothing to complain about. And this issue in particular, the art was great, the story was great. It definitely feels like a good Black Cat comic with a lot of twists and turns. Old McKay has really hit their stride because there's nothing to complain about here at all. Come pick it up. Next is a really, really touching comic book. Jim Henson's The Storyteller Ghosts. And these are all ghost stories told by, a guy and his dog, which very much feel like the guy and the dog from Fraggle Rock that were hanging out the whole time. That's what they feel like. But they're essentially telling stories under the stars, and they're ghost stories. And this one in particular it talks about death and maybe, tying up loose ends. And what would you be able to do if you could say goodbye to someone you lost just one last time? What would you say? And it's very, very beautiful and touching. And of course, that's what you want out of any Jim Henson's comic. But this one especially just really, really hit home and hit it out of the park. So I would say that even if it's issue 4 of 4, so this is the last one. But even if you hadn't read the other ones, you would not be confused. And you would have an absolute good time. I got to throw it on this side for Twitch. Sorry, Twitch. I'm leaving you out. But you would have an absolute good time with this issue in particular. So please, 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 come check this out. It's awesome. Next is, Krista Faust, Mike Diodoto Jr., and Leah Luridge. And I got to tell you, when I saw this comic title, which is called Bad Mother,
shut your mouth.
Who did you think would be on the cover?
Shaq.
Samuel L. Jackson? Did you say Shaq?
Yeah.
You meant Shaft, huh?
Yeah.
I thought it would be. I thought it would be Samuel L. Jackson, who also played Shaft, didn't he, in the new one, right? Yeah, Bad Mother. No. This is it's a housewife story. The housewife accidentally interrupts a robbery, and then some people gotta pay, and it turns out like her bitch of a friend might be behind kidnapping her daughter.
Oh, hell no.
Whoa! So I've probably given more spoilers than I should. The art was proper. There's the art. I mean, it's Diodoto Jr. So his level of grit is like just the perfect amount of grit. If you need to tell a story with the title Bad Mother, you want just a little bit of grit. You don't want too cartoony in your comic, but you also don't want it so grit that you can chew it. So, and this felt perfect. It really, really did feel perfect. There is a lot of moving parts in here. You can tell it's going to get way more bloody than it already is. But the story is pretty good so far. And, you're building towards a pretty big fight. You can already feel it. So nothing to complain about here. It's a good #1, and I would recommend it to anyone. So come pick it up. Next is, wow, this was a good opening, honestly. Robert Kirkman, so you already know it's good. And Chris Samney with Matt Wilson and Russ Wooten. And this, of course, is Firepower. Now, we need to talk about this comic for a minute. There's a lot of moving parts in this. There are ninja clans. And a guy and his wife are living separate from the ninja clans. But the ninja clans want them back because they got a talent. And that talent is Hadouken. I swear to God, the talent is completely throwing fireballs that feel very, very Street Fighter. Nice. Very Street Fighter. So that's what you're getting. You're getting clan struggles. You're getting Street Fighter feeling of fights. You're getting ninjas. This comic has it all. And this is the Image Skybound imprint. They rarely do wrong, but this one in particular had a really, really good time with it. The first one, I will say, for #1, it opens a bit slow at times. #2 was explosive, and we got them both. I don't know why we got 1 and 2 the same week. Maybe they didn't send us one the week it was due out. I don't know what happened, but we've got them both. So if you want 1 and you want 2, 2 is very, very action-packed. 1 is setting the stage. Both are good. We've got you covered. Next is, Thompson, Libranda, and Sotomayor. And this, of course, is Deadpool, issue #6. Now, I've been a bit critical of this Deadpool run. for good reason. The first few issues where he became like head of the monsters and stuff got kind of boring at first. I mean, it felt dialed in. And then Elsa Bloodstone showed up, and it got funny because Elsa Bloodstone has a way worse mouth than Deadpool does. This issue in particular was drop dead hysterical. I laughed maybe the whole way through. It's basically Deadpool is jealous of the mutants having their own place in Krakoa. And he feels like since his movies are out and everybody seems to think he's a mutant when he's not a mutant because they've seen his movies, well, then he needs to go to Krakoa. So what does he do? He climbs into a jelly mutant. And he climbs into a jelly mutant and walks through the gate with his land shark. And then gets put at odds with the mutants because they're pissed because he's there and he's not a mutant, and he's pissed because he's there and they don't have the cure for cancer. And so it's great. I laughed the whole way through it. There were so many good lines. This is how a Deadpool comic should be written. This should be the yardstick that we measure all Deadpool comics from here on out against this, because this was nonstop laughter. It was great. This is what I want from a Deadpool comic, which is sad to say because that last run was not that fun, wasn't it? It wasn't. This is perfect. Perfect. Keep doing this. And get more Elsa Bloodstone up in there because she's hysterical. Not enough people know about her. Next is a comic that I don't know. I don't know. People keep buying it, but I'm not sure anybody really likes it. I think they just like the covers. I don't know. Deja Thoris. Do you like Deja Thoris, Nate?
No, that's one of my brothers picked.
Oh, his brother picks it. I shouldn't diss on it then. She's been around for a long time. She's the Deja Thoris, the princess of Mars, or where is it? Barrowland Mars or something. I can't remember what it's called. She finds herself in the mystical land of Arizona at odds with the army. And they can't talk to each other for a while, and then they start talking to each other. And that's this comic. That's this comic. Can't say I had a good time with it. It's okay. It's okay. I don't know. A lot of people buy these comics, and I can never quite figure out why. The art is, again, it's okay. It's okay. It feels a little generic at times. The story is definitely just kind of, I don't know. This one in particular was just, it felt like filler. Okay, you're in the mystical land of Arizona. That's all I have to say about this comic. If you want it, it's here. It's certainly a pretty cover. I'll give it that. The covers are gorgeous. The comic itself always feels like filler. It's weird. Next is a comic that, oh man, Jason Aaron has got some problems. This is Jason Aaron, Arm Guerra, and Giulio Brusca. And this is The Goddamned Brides. Now, I will preface this by saying the last comic was a bit weird at best. It centered around like a town, and whenever women sort of came of age and started blossoming into adulthood, they were sent to the top of a mountain to wed God. And what that usually meant was that they'd disappear and they'd come back sort of half undead and other stuff. And it was weird at best. But like basically the townspeople have bred these girls to believe that that's what they have to do. They always have to sacrifice for God, and they're always praising God and this and that for whatever else. And in this issue in particular, two of the girls decide, well, fuck that. And that's pretty much how they word it. There is a lot of cursing the whole way through. And they're saying pretty much to hell with God, and we're going to ride with Satan this time. And like, wow. So is it a fun read? It's fun. It's just really, really twisted and wild. So yeah, Jason Aaron, man, I really feel like if we could take off, if we could open up Jason Aaron's skull and peer inside his head, we'd find a lot of weirdness, like a lot of weirdness. So you'd kind of expect that from that guy. It's good though. I have nothing to complain about. That last issue I felt a bit squeamish about. I will tell you that. This issue, not so much. So I would say this one you could drop it on and you'd probably have a pretty good time. Next is Fantastic Four Empire, and this is Slot Medina, Izaxi, and Menyes. And if you can't tell from the cover, well, Ghost Rider's in play, Wolverine's in play. There's a lot of fun Fantastic Four characters. Yes, they've all been Fantastic Four heroes. Spidey's in play. One of the things I will say about this particular issue is Spider-Man's trying to figure out where the danger is coming from because he feels like it's on all sides. And somebody distracts him. And when the creatures attack, they say, the psychic has his guards down now. We attack now. And it occurs to me, oh shit, Spider Sense does make him a psychic. I've never figured that out before, but he does kind of count as a psychic then.
It never fully got explained.
No, it's just a Spider Sense, right? But I guess it does count as a psychic power.
Power of the totem.
I've never thought that through, but that's definitely different, right? So it was good to see. They did different stuff. It's the Fantastic Four coming into their own, and really, this particular issue, Reed Richards tells Valeria and Franklin that, hey, the gloves are off. You're full members of the Fantastic Four, so just go do what we do. And Slott has really hit his stride here, and this is good stuff, so come pick it up. Although this is the Fantastic Four Empire, but it's still Fantastic Four 22.
Yeah. Sure.
Just making sure. Next is Guardians of the Galaxy. This is Al Ewing. Oh, I didn't realize it was Ewing on this. Juan Cabal, Federico Blee. And wow. There's a lot of things going on here. We know there's 2 moon dragons from 2 different universes in the same universe. And you can't really have telepaths of that level and power in the same universe of the same people without them sort of butting heads here and there. Meanwhile, the Guardians team itself, well, they're sort of struggling with some changes. It is the OG team and parts of the new team, and I really, really do like it. More importantly, there's a character in here named, I think his name is Black O'Hare, and he's a black bunny. If that's not a Bucky O'Hare reference, I don't know what is. It was pretty cool to see. So I've been having a lot of fun with this Guardians of the Galaxy's issue comic. I will say this issue in particular is a little hard to follow if you hadn't read the previous issues. So maybe don't jump in here. Go back an issue or 2 before you do that. But it's still pretty fun, pretty darn fun. You got the team that you know and love from the James Gunn movies, mixed with the latest team. So you've got Moondragon and Phyla and a few others. So it's pretty good. It's a good team. So yeah, come check this out. Next is Ta-Nehisi Coates, Bob Quinn, and Matt Mia. Matt Mia. I always pronounce the names wrong. Of course, we're talking about Captain America. Now, I complained for a long time about Coates' run with Captain America because it felt like it was just every other issue was just tearing him down and making fun of the fact that there was Captain Hydra, and it's just it didn't feel like Captain America. However, these last issues for, I don't know, the past year have all felt great. And this one, too, feels great. It's pretty darn good. We've got Falcon, Cap, and Winter Soldier just belting out. They're dealing with a town called, I think it's called Adamsville. Adamsville sounds like a good, hearty American name for a town that's infested with a soul-sucking psychic with mind control powers that needs to be taken out. So I had fun with it. There's nothing to complain about here. I would say don't jump in on this particular issue if you haven't been following. Go back one issue, but it was still pretty fun. They do take a dig at Stark though. At one point, they're using tech from Wakanda, and they're like, "Wow, these Wakanda illusion emitters are so great. This makes Stark tech look like child's play or something." Like it was just some slam, and I was like, "Oh, the dirt between Wakanda and Stark." It's good, dude. So, yeah, honestly, this issue is great. Come pick it up. It's fun. The art is good. There's really nothing to complain about there either. Man, I got to stop saying nothing to complain about. You should be over here, like, clipping my hair every time I say something I said already.
I mean, we could do that.
Well, I've only got 2 books left. We could do that, though. Uh-oh. He's breaking out clippers.
I got to take off my mask. Because I learned last time so the deaf community can hear me.
Oh, you're going to clip my hair?
Should I do it, guys? I don't know. Yeah, thumbs up, maybe? Anybody? Oh, not this time, Mix.
Okay. Next issue is Dugan Pierce, Percy, Dugan Percy, Dugan Percy, Williams, Wernick, and Woodard, and of course we're talking about the Empire tie-in for X-Men. Actually, this is Empire X-Men, is what it is, because this is a 4-issue miniseries. Meanwhile, it centers around Magic being, I think they call her the Battle Master or something, the Combat Master. She's dealing with the Kotati, who are plant-based creatures who have invaded Krakoa, which is a real problem, like phone calls in the middle of our videos. But also, while they're dealing with that, they've got to deal with, well, the horticulture team, which if you don't know who horticulture is, these are the old ladies who are really into plants, so they had hacked the portals to Krakoa. So they've shown back up. It's essentially X-Men meets Golden Girls is what it is. And that's what it's written like. I'm not even kidding. It is X-Men meets sci-fi meets Golden Girls. And it was funny. I laughed the whole way through. I had a good time with it. It was pretty hysterical. Although I will say, like, thanks to one of my buddies and a Baycon dramatic reading, I have nightmares about stuff related to Golden Girls. So, but other than that, had a really, really good time with this issue. It's issue 2. I would say you could honestly jump in on issue 2 and not be too confused. All you really need to know is this. Okay, maybe you might be a little confused. They've gone to Genosha to try and check the mutants that have died there and see if they could be resurrected. And it turns out that they're all zombies. And that's when the Kotati attacked. And that's when the Golden Girls came through the portals. So there's a lot of problems here, but I don't think it's anything the mutants can't handle because they've sort of proven they're pretty resentful. What's the word I'm looking for? Resolute? I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but it's not resentful. Anyways, nothing to complain about here. The art is great. The story is great. It was hysterical. Seeing Angel come under the pheromone control of the Golden Girls was pretty funny. Yeah. It's a really, really good issue. Come pick it up. We got it. Now is the last book on our list, and it's the one I've wanted to talk about the most. And that's because I'm a huge fan of something one of my other friends is involved with. My friend Xander Generette is involved with as X in LA by Night, which is the Vampire the Masquerade YouTube series, which is amazing. It is amazing for a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest reason is that Jason Carl, the guy who puts it together, he is clearly this generation's Vincent Price. You need to check it out. It's amazing. The LA by Night stories are so good. So this Vampire the Masquerade book, I was so excited to see it. Seeley, Howard and Howard, Pramanik, and Gooden, and Duke, and World, Winter's Teeth. This centers around 2 factions. One is going to be the Camarilla, which is considered to be the ivory tower in the Vampire the Masquerade universe. They have a bunch of rules, and they don't like technology, and they have certain clans that are in their ranks. One of which apparently is a Brujah, which tends to fall in the Anarchs domain. The other story centers around the Anarchs. They don't want to play with the Camarilla usually. They're the opposite. They still have rank. They still honor the Masquerade, which means you don't reveal you're a vampire to humans or you get killed. But they're very opposite the Camarilla, and I think this is putting the 2 tails on a collision course. So I can't wait to see where it takes out. This is essentially Minneapolis and St. Paul by night. So the Twin Cities by night in Minnesota. And it's good. It's a very, very good opening. You get a lot of the vampire clans in play. You get a good introduction. If you've never followed Vampire the Masquerade, it's perfect. The art is perfect. It is exactly the amount of dark and gritty you sort of want for a horror story and for Vampire the Masquerade, and it's still a bit fun. So if you want to learn about the clans and the lore of Vampire the Masquerade, I would say this is a pretty good jumping off point. So come check it out. It's awesome. I need to gush more about it. Seeing an Anarch serving the Camarilla is fun because it usually puts them at odds with the Camarilla. They don't tend to like it. There is also a character who is sired and doesn't know their sire, so they're probably caitiff, which is a thin blood, and that's always something to see. There's also I believe there's a Gangrel, there's a Nosferatu for sure. They're hideously disfigured vampires who are all about trading information and secrets. There's a lot of fun in this issue. 2 separate stories that might be on a collision course, so come check it out. It's great. And I think that's our show for this week. We got a lot of books. Not this week. We're gonna do DC Comics tomorrow. So So that's our Marvel and Indy show for this week. So do the dance. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week. Or tomorrow. I'll get it right eventually. Me end stream. Let me